The Lord's my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me down to lie in pastures green, he leadeth me the quiet waters by. Words many of us learned long, long ago. In fact, the 23rd Psalm is one of those few passages of Scripture in my head I always hear in the King James Version. Shepherd is a common image. From the Psalms we get it from David, who we're told was a shepherd boy. Jesus talks about a shepherd as well. In fact, the Anglican Church in Atikokan was called the Church of the Good Shepherd, from today's Gospel passage, where Jesus describes himself as the Good Shepherd. What does it mean to say God is like a shepherd, or God is a shepherd? What does a shepherd do? A shepherd does a number of things. A shepherd protects. A shepherd drives away the wild animals that come to threaten the flock. A shepherd keeps the flock together. One of the other stories we have in the Gospel is about Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is like a shepherd who has 99 sheep but loses one and goes off and leaves those 99 together. Well, he goes off to find the one that's lost, which makes no sense from an economic standpoint because then the 99 are unprotected. A shepherd guides the sheep. Shepherds them, pushes them, herds them, drives them to places where there's good, clean water, where there's fresh pasture. A shepherd is responsible for the welfare of the sheep. So we say God is like that. God is the one who protects us. God is the one who leads us in green pastures and beside still waters. And so the obvious inference is that if God is the shepherd, if Christ is the shepherd, then we are the sheep. We don't always like that because sheep don't have a great image as being exceptionally bright animals. But there was a song we learned at camp called I Just Want to Be a Sheep, which had dance moves and everything. I would share those dance moves and sing the song, but Devin's in the room with me, and whenever I sing and dance, there's a threat I might get hit. Apparently, it's not all that entertaining. But there's another side to it, I think, when I look at the passages for today. Because one of the ancient descriptions of being a Christian is that we are to be like Christ. We are to follow, to emulate, to try to be like Christ. Which means we're supposed to not only be sheep, but also be shepherd. It is one of the ancient images used for clergy. That's why you sort of have that pastor, pastoral, pasture. They're all linked together. And so part of being a shepherd is to care for each other. In today's Acts reading, we read, all the believers were together and had all things in common. They would sell their possessions and goods and distribute the proceeds to all, as any had need. In the book of Acts, we have this somewhat utopian picture of the early church, where everybody sells everything they've got and they pool it all together so that everybody can get what they need. In more modern political parlance, it sounds very much like a Marxist type of approach. From each according to their ability, to each according to their need. Now, elsewhere in the book of Acts, it's clear that the people didn't always do that very well. That some of them kept a little bit back. Didn't give it all to the gathering. They didn't come to a good end. But I think there's a hint there. I'm not saying that we're all going to sell everything we have and put it all in a pot and just share it around. That doesn't really seem realistic. But it reminds us that part of being Christlike is caring about the people around us. We do that quite well. That's what our local outreach fund is for, here at St. Paul's. We collect some money and we pool it together so that when people are in need, we have it to share. It's what we do when we support the Mission and Service Fund. It's really what we do when we support the work of this building, of the people from this building. We pool our money so that we're here to care for each other when they need caring. It's a daunting task sometimes to think of ourselves as a shepherd. It's daunting to think we're supposed to be like Christ when we get right down to it. But that's our calling. That's who we're meant to be. To follow the one who loves us. The one who says of himself, he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all of his own, he goes ahead of them. And the sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will not follow a stranger. They will run from him because they do not know the voice of strangers. We follow the one who loves us and knows us by name. We follow the one whose voice we recognize. And as part of following that one, the Good Shepherd, we're called to care for each other, to be shepherds in our own right. We don't always get it right. We can sometimes do it better. But that's what we're called to be, both sheep and shepherd. It's all part of following the Lord, who is our shepherd, who leads us into green pastures, who makes us lie down and beside still waters, who restores our soul even for his own name's sake. Surely goodness and mercy will follow us all the days of our life, and we will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Thanks be to God, our shepherd, who calls us to shepherd others. Amen.